Today we're going to take a look at several recent sources on technological advancements, things that are really changing the game around the world. Get ready because we're going from quantum physics and robots to, get this, spider silk made in a completely new way.
What do we have in our conversation today? Robots with more human-like movements, a car that almost lives on sunlight alone, some ball-shaped robots for exploring other planets, predicting natural disasters, a robot dog doing acrobatics, even a diplomat robot, and, of course, this biomaterial that seems like something out of a movie. Our idea here is to try to understand what's behind these innovations, what they truly mean and why they matter now. Maybe we'll even find a thread that connects all of this line between what is natural and what is artificial that seems to get thinner every day.
Well, let's start unraveling this. Let's go. Starting with robotics. There's an old challenge, right? Why do humanoid robots often seem so stiff? The problem lies in something called inverse kinematics. It's complicated for a robot to move its hand. Its brain has to calculate the exact position of all the joints. Shoulder, elbow, wrist. There are thousands, millions of combinations. And normal computers, they solve this sort of by trial and error, one calculation after another. And that results in that slow, somewhat hesitant movement.
But in Japan, some researchers from the Shibaru Institute of Technology, Waseda University, and Fujitsu had a breakthrough. What if they used something inspired by quantum computing? The idea, from what I understood, isn't to run everything on a quantum supercomputer, not yet, but to use its principles. Instead of calculating each joint combination one by one, they created a hybrid method. The heaviest part, mapping the possible positions, mimics how quantum computing looks at multiple options at the same time. Then, the inverse kinematics itself runs on a classic chip, but the whole process becomes much faster.
The result of this, in a simulation using a Fujitsu quantum simulator, was wow, very cool. They reduced errors by up to 43%, and a calculation that would take half an hour for a 17-joint robot was done much, much faster. They even tested it on a real small 64-qubit quantum computer. And the impact of this, look, goes beyond just having robots that seem less stiff. What stands out here is the possibility of robots interacting with our world in a much safer, more efficient way.
Think about a robot helping at home or in a factory. It needs to react quickly, dodge a person, pick up a glass without breaking it. This fluidity that faster computing allows is fundamental for this safe, real-time interaction, right? Nowadays, many projects simplify robots, reducing the number of joints precisely to avoid all this calculation. This new approach opens the door for more complex, more capable, and, how interesting, more natural moving robots, even using super advanced computing. It's a real step toward joining robotics and quantum concepts.
Speaking of movement and robots that go beyond, there's Spot, right? The robot dog from Boston Dynamics. We've already seen it carrying things, inspecting dangerous places, even dancing. But the new thing now is it doing a backflip. It might just seem impressive, but there's more to it, right?
Definitely. It's not a marketing gimmick. An engineer from their team stated it very clearly. Each of these jumps is a heavy stress test. It pushes the motors to their limits, tests how much energy is consumed, and most importantly, assesses how the robot recovers from a fall, from an extreme movement. It's all about reliability. If it can do a backflip and land perfectly, or even recover if it lands awkwardly, it's more prepared for the real world, you see.
I see. And how does it learn to do that? It's not someone programming every step, I imagine.
No, not at all. The main method is reinforcement learning. It works more or less like this. First, everything happens in a simulation. The virtual Spot tries the move thousands, millions of times. When it gets it right or close, it gets a virtual reward. When it fails, it learns from the mistake. It's a super accelerated trial and error process.
The robot optimizes its posture, balance, and strength. Only after it has mastered it in the virtual world is the code transferred to the real robot, and even on the real robot, there are still adjustments. If it falls, the sensors collect the data, the engineers analyze it, and they refine the model. The key point is teaching Spot to do something as complex and dynamic as a backflip ensures it can handle the unexpected in its day-to-day tasks. A slippery floor, tripping on a rock while carrying something. The acrobatics are training for robustness and safety in normal tasks. Every flip is pure science.
This search for limits, for efficiency, brings us to mobility. And here, the numbers are a bit scary, right? A gasoline car wastes about 75% of the fuel's energy. It all goes into heat and pollution. And on the highway, more than half the energy spent is just to overcome air resistance. With this in mind, a company in California, Aptera, did something radically different. It's a 3-wheeled electric vehicle, super light, made of advanced composite materials with a design that resembles a teardrop. The total focus is on efficiency, aerodynamics, and low weight.
And the result? They claim a range of up to 1,600 kilometers, about 1,000 miles, on a single charge. This is using a battery that isn't even that huge compared to other electrics. But the real masterstroke is the solar panels directly on the bodywork. In places with a lot of sun, Aptera says the car can gain enough range for daily use just by being parked. Imagine getting home with more battery than when you left without plugging anything in. They calculate this could provide more than 10,000 kilometers of free travel per year. It also charges quickly from an outlet, about an hour for a full charge.
And since it's super efficient, it uses much less energy per kilometer. Safety, they guarantee, comes from the strong structure, like a Formula One car with a steel safety cage. Inside, it's spacious and minimalist. Their vision is a future where going to the gas station is a thing of the past. It's fascinating, right? How they combined such an extreme design with the practicality of solar energy. But this raises an important market question. Can such an, let's say, outside-the-box design compete with giants like Tesla or BYD, which have a more conventional shape?
Or will solar power in cars prove viable first in these super efficient formats like Aptera's, creating its own niche before perhaps becoming more mainstream? It's an interesting test to see how far the quest for efficiency can push car design. And from efficiency here on Earth, let's go to the exploration of other places, or very difficult places right here. That's where RoboBall comes in. It's a NASA concept being developed at Texas A&M University.
It's literally a robot ball. The idea came about 20 years ago from NASA engineer Robert Ambrosovitz. He thought, how can we explore terrains that are impossible for wheeled or legged robots? Like very steep slopes, deep craters on the moon. A sphere has no front, no back. It doesn't have the same risk of tipping over, right? The project was shelved for a while, but Ambrosovitz brought it back at the university. They have 2 versions, a smaller 60-centimeter one to test control and a larger one, almost 2 meters, designed for real missions to carry instruments and such.
The tests now are very practical. They are trying to get the RoboBall to exit the water and roll on the beach sand. Something a normal vehicle couldn't do, it would get stuck instantly. They've already managed to reach 32 kilometers per hour, 20 miles per hour, showing the concept works for movement. And yes, this fits into a larger search for robots that can adapt to extreme environments, right? Of course, there are challenges. Maintenance must be complicated because everything is sealed inside the sphere and they're creating it from scratch. But the potential is huge. Imagine a lunar module releasing dozens of these balls to map a huge area quickly.
Or to place sensors in places too dangerous even for other robots. It's a completely new way of thinking about remote exploration. From space exploration to disaster preparedness here on Earth, with the help of AI Mount Fuji in Japan. It's a beautiful symbol, but also an active volcano. The last eruption was in 1707, over 300 years ago. And recently, the Tokyo government used artificial intelligence to create super realistic simulations of what would happen if it erupted today.
The videos show a very grim scenario. Thick smoke ash reaching Tokyo, which is 100 kilometers away, in just a few hours, covering everything, stopping transportation, leading to supply shortages, breathing problems. The goal, they say, is not just to scare, but to prepare the 37 million people who live in the region. And here the key point is the power of AI in risk communication. Disaster simulation isn't new in Japan. They've been doing it for earthquakes and typhoons for a long time. But AI adds a level of detail and visual realism that affects people in a different way.
The reaction was mixed, right? Some people rushed to buy things to stock up. Others became genuinely anxious. Experts, like a researcher named Naoko Sekiya from the University of Tokyo, point to this exact dilemma. How to use such a powerful tool to motivate practical preparation, having an emergency kit, knowing escape routes, without causing panic? Japan has 111 active volcanoes. The risk is real and needs to be communicated. Historically, Fuji has had more frequent eruptions. AI becomes a potent tool, but one that requires care to balance alert and calm. It's technology forcing us to face uncomfortable possibilities in a very vivid way.
And technology is entering places we never imagined, like diplomacy. At an important summit in 2025 of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO, which brings together China, Russia, and India, the one who welcomed journalists and guests there in Chongqing was a humanoid robot. Its name was Xiaoyi, and it wasn't just any robot. It had advanced AI, spoke Chinese, English, and Russian, guided people, gave real-time information, and they say it could even perform emotional recognition to adapt the conversation.
Interestingly, if asked about politics, a sensitive topic, it remained neutral but could interact in a light manner, like providing the schedule or serving ice cream. Exactly. And it's worth noting how this connects to other things China has been showcasing. There was that Guangdong #1 robot announced with emotional AI, the World Humanoid Robot Games. Placing a sophisticated robot as a receptionist at a geopolitical event of this magnitude is not for nothing. It signals a strategic vision where robotics is not only a pillar of the economy, but also a tool for global image, a kind of high-tech diplomacy, you know?
China seems to use these moments to build an image of leadership in innovation and technological power. The question that remains is, to what extent will we see robots in public functions and interactions at this level? Is it just a technological showcase to impress? Or is it the beginning of a deeper integration of these machines into areas that have always been human, like diplomacy? The presence of Xiaoyi, at the very least, is a symbol of this frontier shifting.
To wrap up our analysis for today, let's move to a material that seems like science fiction: spider silk. Everyone knows it's super strong, stronger than steel by weight, flexible and light, but it has always been impossible to produce in large quantities. Spiders are cannibalistic. You can't farm them. However, a company in Michigan, Craig Biocraft, announced a major breakthrough in early 2025. They managed to genetically modify the common silkworm.
They took the largest spider silk gene ever recorded from a spider called the Darwin's bark spider, which has super strong and elastic web, and inserted it into the silkworm's DNA. The result? The modified silkworm produces a cocoon that is a hybrid. It has up to 90% spider silk protein, but is spun naturally by the insect, just as it always has. It's nature doing the heavy lifting of production, right?
Exactly. And the connection here to the bigger picture is precisely overcoming the barrier of scale. People have tried to make synthetic spider silk in every way imaginable, with bacteria, yeast, even transgenic goats and sheep, but they always hit a wall with cost and complexity. The silkworm, on the other hand, has been domesticated for millennia. A whole global infrastructure for sericulture is already in place. Using this existing biological platform is a brilliant idea to make the material viable.
Craig already has plans to produce 10 tons per year in Vietnam, and the applications? Wow, there are many. In medicine, absorbable sutures artificial ligaments, scaffolds for tissue growth. In defense, lighter, more flexible, bulletproof vests, perhaps combined with Kevlar. In fashion, high performance, luxurious, durable, and biodegradable fabrics. It's synthetic biology meeting traditional manufacturing.
Of course, there are still challenges ahead. Ensuring the fiber is consistent across millions of cocoons, creating processes to spin and weave this new silk without damaging its properties, and convincing the textile industry, which is sometimes more conservative, to adopt such a new material. We will probably see the first uses in high-value niches like biomedicine before it reaches the mass market, but the potential is, without a doubt, revolutionary.
So what do we take away from all this? We've seen robots learning to move like us with the help of new computation, cars that feed on the sun, and AI showing us possible and worrying futures. Also, robots entering social roles, and even insects producing science fiction materials. The common thread in all these stories, as different as they may seem, appears to be this ever-increasing blend of technology and biology between the artificial and the natural.
Whether it's in the way machines learn and move, how we generate energy, how we perceive risks, or how we create new materials. The lines are becoming very, very blurry. This leaves us with a final provocation, doesn't it? With robots that learn by doing backflips, cars that drink sunlight, and biological materials that were impossible becoming a reality. How are we going to define what is natural and what is artificial in the coming decades?
And more importantly, how will this redefinition change our relationship with the planet, with technology, and ultimately with ourselves?